Long ago in the magical world of fairy tales, there were two powerful brothers named Raffle and Ryan. Together, they created a special school to keep balance between good and evil. For many years, everything stayed peaceful because both brothers shared power equally. But one day things suddenly changed. Raffle slowly became greedy and wanted all the power for himself. Because of this, he challenged his own twin brother to a dangerous fight. The winner would control the entire school alone. But Ryan did not want to fight his brother. Instead of attacking, he only tried to protect himself and stop the fight peacefully. Sadly, his kindness became his biggest weakness. Raffle captured him and revealed something terrifying. He had learned a dark and dangerous kind of magic called blood magic. Even though this magic could destroy him too, Raffle did not care. He became so hungry for power that he was ready to risk everything just to break the balance between good and evil forever. Soon, a deadly battle began between the two brothers. Raffle wanted to destroy Ryan once and for all. But when it looked like Ryan was about to lose, he made one final move to save himself. Using all his strength, he pushed Raffle off a huge cliff. Just like that, the evil brother disappeared and Ryan survived. After many years, far away from that story, a new chapter finally began in a small village called Gavaldon. There lived a girl named Sophie. Since childhood, Sophie had always dreamed of living like a princess. She loved fairy tales and believed that one day her life would become magical too. But sadly, reality was very different. Sophie came from a poor family and lived in a tiny house with many brothers and sisters. Life was not easy for her. But deep inside she never stopped dreaming about castles, fancy dresses, and a perfect fairy tale life. At the same time, on the other side of Gavaldon, near a lonely place called Graves Hill, lived another girl named Agatha. Unlike Sophie, Agatha lived a quiet life in a small old cottage with her strange mother. Her mother called herself a witch, but honestly, none of her magic potions ever worked. Still, Agatha's mother truly believed that her daughter was special. She felt Agatha had everything needed to become a real and powerful witch one day. Now, even though Sophie and Agatha were completely different, they had one thing in common. Both of them hated living in Gavaldon. They felt like they never really belonged there, and maybe because of that, the two girls became very close friends. After Sophie lost her mother when she was still very young, Agatha came into her life. Since that day, the two had stayed together through everything. No matter what happened, they always had each other's backs. One day, trouble suddenly finds Agatha. A crazy man from the village starts yelling at her, calling her a witch and trying to force her out of town. He scares everyone around him and acts like Agatha does not belong there. But Sophie is not the kind of friend who just stands and watches. The moment she sees Agatha in danger, she jumps in to protect her without even thinking twice. Sophie grabs a frying pan and smacks the man right on the head. Later that afternoon, the two friends head to the village library. While they are there, they hear a mysterious story about a magical place called the School for Good and Evil. A strange school where fairy tales are said to begin. According to the librarian, something strange happened 20 years ago. A girl named Leonora suddenly disappeared from the village in the middle of the night. Many people believe she had been taken to the School for Good and Evil, but nobody really knew the truth. Since then, her story has become a mystery. After hearing this, Sophie cannot stop thinking about the magical school. Deep inside, she feels this could finally be her chance to escape her boring and difficult life. So the moment she gets home, Sophie quickly writes a letter to the School for Good and Evil. In the letter, she introduces herself and asks to be accepted as a student. Full of hope, Sophie places the letter near the wishing tree and waits for something magical to happen. After some time, she comes back to check if anyone has taken it, but sadly, the letter is still lying there exactly where she left it. At that moment, Sophie feels disappointed. She starts thinking that maybe nobody is coming to save her, so she decides to take control of her own future. That same night, she secretly plans to run away from Gavaldon and leave her old life behind forever. But before she can escape, Agatha suddenly finds her, and just then something very strange happens. Red smoke starts spreading across the sky, making everything feel dark and creepy. Out of nowhere, a terrifying creature with glowing fiery eyes appears and suddenly grabs Sophie. But instead of being scared, Sophie actually gets excited. She happily waves goodbye to Gavaldon, believing her dream is finally coming true. Of course, Agatha is not about to let her best friend disappear like that. She quickly runs after Sophie and tries to pull her back. But before either of them can understand what is happening, a giant bird suddenly flies out from the bushes and grabs both girls, carrying them far away together. Soon they finally arrive at the mysterious school for good and evil. But something feels completely wrong. Agatha gets dropped into the school for good, while Sophie is thrown straight into the school for evil. Sophie cannot believe it. She had always dreamed of becoming a princess, so ending up surrounded by scary villains feels like a nightmare. She becomes terrified after realizing everyone around her looks dangerous and evil. Meanwhile, Agatha wakes up in a beautiful flower garden inside the school for good. But things do not go smoothly for her either. The princesses look down on her because of her strange appearance, and the fairies quickly drag her away for her first day at school. Before classes begin, Agatha is taken to a makeover room where she meets a teacher named Dovey, who helps prepare students for the good side of fairy tales. After getting dressed properly, Agatha heads toward orientation where all the new students are gathered. The first thing she does is search for Sophie, and finally she sees her friend. But before Agatha can even go near her, teachers stop them and force the two girls to sit on completely opposite sides of the room. Soon after, the princes of the school for good arrive and start showing off their fighting skills with an exciting sword performance. Then comes the grand entrance of Tedros. The moment he walks in, everyone is impressed. Tedros is the handsome son of King Arthur, and pretty much every girl falls for him instantly, especially Sophie. The second Sophie sees him, she cannot stop staring. In Sophie's mind, this is perfect. A prince like him could give her the fairy tale ending she has always wanted. To show everyone how strong he is, Tedros challenges the other princes and easily defeats them, even without using his sword. Then suddenly villains step in to challenge him too. This time Tedros pulls out the legendary sword Excalibur and defeats a giant cyclops without much trouble. Just when things settle down, the school principal finally appears. Agatha quickly says there has been a huge mistake and begs to go back home. Sophie, however, has a different problem. She wants to know how she can switch schools. But the principal, Ryan, calmly tells them something shocking. There are no mistakes here, and both girls are exactly where they are supposed to be. Later that evening, Agatha refuses to believe this. While trapped in her room, she secretly climbs across the rooftops to sneak into the neighboring school and find Sophie. The trip is dangerous, and along the way a scary monster starts chasing her. Somehow she manages to escape and finally reaches the school for evil. But what she sees there is terrifying. A pool of blood suddenly forms on the floor, and from the middle of it appears Raffle, the same evil brother everyone thought had disappeared long ago. Raffle gives Agatha a warning. He tells her to stay away from Sophie because the girl has an important destiny to fulfill. Now Agatha realizes something terrible may be happening, and Sophie could be in much bigger danger than she imagined. So she keeps searching until she finally finds her friend. Together, the girls sneak into the principal's office and once again try to explain that they were placed in the wrong schools. This time they learn something important. If Sophie wants to prove she belongs in the school for good, she must receive the kiss of true love. The moment Sophie hears this, she already knows exactly who she wants. Tedros. Now her new goal becomes simple. Make the prince fall in love with her. And of course, she asks Agatha to help her get closer to him. Later that day, Agatha delivers Sophie's letter to Tedros and explains that Sophie is not evil at all. She was simply placed in the wrong school. Soon after, the students attend a dangerous survival class inside the Blue Forest taught by a strange little gnome named Yuba. Right from the start, everyone realizes this forest is extremely dangerous. Every corner hides something deadly. Things get even worse when one student, Gregor, gets bitten by a dangerous flower. Completely terrified, he panics and runs back toward the school. Agatha runs after him because she remembers the warning students received on the first day. If anyone fails 3 times, a terrible punishment waits for them. Sadly, Gregor ignores the warning and ends up facing serious consequences. Meanwhile, Sophie attends a class meant to improve special talents, but things quickly go bad when she gets into trouble with Hester, a scary witch who has a giant dragon tattoo and a creepy monster pet. Hester sends the creature after Sophie, turning the whole classroom into chaos. Sophie tries her best to dodge every attack, but there is one huge problem. She has no idea what her magical powers even are. Just when it looks like she is about to lose, something unexpected happens. Out of nowhere, a huge swarm of bees suddenly rushes into the room. Within seconds, the bees surround Hester's monster and start attacking it from every side. Everyone is shocked, and even Sophie cannot believe what she is seeing. It slowly becomes clear that somehow she is controlling the bees. But things quickly get dangerous. The monster starts getting badly hurt, and it looks like Hester might lose her pet forever. Seeing things getting out of control, Lady Lesso immediately steps in and orders Sophie to stop. Without really understanding how, Sophie tells the bees to back away, and just like that, the swarm leaves. But then something even stranger happens. For a brief moment, Lady Lesso notices a mysterious image appear among the bees. It is Raffle, the same evil brother everyone believed disappeared long ago. Raffle smiles and congratulates Sophie for using her powers so well. The moment he vanishes, Lady Lesso quickly pulls Sophie aside for a private talk. She reveals something shocking. Ever since Raffle disappeared, evil has never truly defeated good. But for some reason, Sophie's powers have caught Raffle's attention, and according to Lady Lesso, this means only one thing. Sophie really belongs in the school for evil. Hearing this completely breaks Sophie's heart. She had always believed she was meant to be a princess, not a villain. Before leaving, Lady Lesso warns Sophie not to tell anyone about Raffle's visit, and she also tells her to immediately report back if he ever appears again. The next day, things become even stranger for Agatha. During class with Professor Dovey, Agatha asks what happened to Gregor after failing, and the answer is horrifying. She learns that students who fail too many times get transformed into magical creatures, just like the strange fish living in the nearby lake. Soon the princesses gather around the magical lake and place their hands in the water. The lake shows each person the thing they want most in their heart. One by one, everyone sees beautiful dreams and wishes. But when it is Agatha's turn, something unexpected happens. Instead of showing her a dream, the fish suddenly gather around her hand. Then suddenly a real girl rises out of the water. Everyone stands there shocked. The mysterious girl reveals that she failed school over 100 years ago, and had been trapped there ever since. For the first time in all those years, someone finally wished to free her, and that someone was Agatha. After thanking her for saving her, the girl peacefully disappears. But before Agatha can even process what just happened, a giant bird suddenly appears nearby, looking exactly like the creature that once brought her to school. Terrified, Agatha thinks it has come for her and quickly tries to run away, but then she realizes something heartbreaking. The giant bird is actually Gregor. He has already been transformed. Wanting to help him, Agatha moves closer, but before she can do anything, Tedros suddenly appears. Thinking Agatha is in danger, Tedros throws his sword straight at the giant bird's heart. In seconds, Gregor's body explodes. Agatha is completely devastated. Filled with anger, she hits Tedros and blames him for killing her friend. Tedros looks confused because he only wanted to protect her. Soon, Professor Dovey arrives and sends everyone back to their rooms. Then she says something surprising. According to her, Agatha may be the first true princess the school for good has seen in a very long time. Dovey explains that years ago, goodness was real and honest, but now most students only care about beauty, perfection, and showing off. Agatha, however, did something different. Instead of wishing for herself, she used her wish to save someone trapped for more than 100 years. Because of her kindness and care for others, Agatha had done something truly magical. Later during break time, Agatha finally meets Sophie and tells her everything that happened. That is when Sophie quietly reveals something shocking. Raffle visited her. Before Agatha can even react, Tedros suddenly walks over with a black eye from their earlier fight. For the very first time, Sophie finally gets a chance to properly talk to him, and of course she is super excited. But just when things start going well, a school guard suddenly arrives and interrupts them. He tells Sophie to come with him immediately. Confused and nervous, Sophie is taken straight to the punishment room where Lady Lesso is already waiting for her. Lady Lesso ties Sophie to a chair, grabs an axe and cuts off her beautiful hair. According to Lady Lesso, Sophie's beauty is stopping people from seeing who she really is inside. She believes Sophie has been hiding behind her looks for too long. Of course, Sophie feels completely miserable after this. She starts wondering why everything in her life is falling apart. But later that day, someone unexpectedly visits her again. Raffle. This time he gives Sophie dangerous advice. He tells her that if she really wants something, she should stop caring about rules and do whatever it takes to get it. Slowly, Sophie starts listening to him. Later during another shared class, Professor Dovey and Lady Lesso explain something important to the students. To unlock their magic, both heroes and villains must first unlock something called Finger Glow, the magical power hidden inside them. Soon everyone begins unlocking their powers. But when Sophie walks into class, everyone is shocked. She looks completely different. With her new style and confidence, Sophie proudly thanks Lady Lesso for helping change her appearance. But something else has changed too. As soon as her powers awaken, Sophie slowly starts becoming meaner and colder. Instead of fighting with the villains, she suddenly becomes friends with them and even joins forces with the same people who used to hate her. Agatha notices the change immediately, and honestly, Sophie is becoming less and less like the kind of person Tedros would ever fall in love with. Wanting to help her friend, Agatha gives Sophie an idea. She tells her to join archery class. According to school legend, only students from the school for good can hit the target because true archery needs a pure heart. At first it seems impossible, but with Agatha secretly helping her, Sophie actually manages to hit the target. Tedros sees this and finally starts believing that maybe Sophie is not evil after all. Soon after, shocking news spreads across the school. Tedros, the most popular prince in school, has invited a girl from the school for evil to the big dance. And that girl is Sophie. Immediately, students from both schools begin arguing and fighting over it. Even the teachers get worried and gather together to discuss what should happen next. Meanwhile, Sophie and Tedros feel confident that their relationship is real, so they decide to stand in front of the teachers and defend their love. But the principal decides there is only one way to prove if their feelings are true: a special trial. To pass this test, Sophie and Tedros must enter the dangerous blue forest from opposite sides and survive every danger until they find each other before sunrise. As night falls, both of them stand at the gates. Before entering, they are given a red scarf. If either one gives up, they simply need to throw the scarf on the ground and they will instantly be taken somewhere safe. At first Sophie feels brave, but the moment she enters the forest, things quickly become terrifying. Deadly flowers suddenly attack her and nearly trap her. On the other side of the wall, Agatha hears Sophie screaming. Without thinking twice, she secretly uses her magic and turns herself into a dove to help her friend. Deep in the dark forest, Sophie soon runs into a terrifying scarecrow with a giant pumpkin head. The creepy monster immediately starts chasing her. Just when it looks like Sophie is about to get hurt, Agatha suddenly appears and knocks the creature down. After helping Sophie up, Agatha hears Tedros calling from somewhere nearby, and tells Sophie to keep moving toward his voice. For a moment it feels like things might actually work, but suddenly the scarecrow rises again and attacks Tedros. During the fight, Tedros loses his sword and struggles to defend himself. Seeing him in danger, Agatha tells Sophie to help him, but Sophie freezes. She is too scared to move. As Tedros gets closer and closer to losing, Agatha finally steps in herself and finds a way to get his sword back to him. With the sword in hand, Tedros defeats the monster. But then he realizes something upsetting. Sophie cheated. Instead of helping him herself, Agatha had secretly done everything. Worse, Sophie was too afraid to risk herself for him. Disappointed, Tedros drops the red scarf on the ground and gives up on the test. In seconds, he disappears and returns back to school. Sophie is furious. Instead of blaming herself, she turns all her anger toward Agatha and accuses her of ruining everything on purpose. Their friendship completely falls apart. Sophie even declares war on her own best friend before storming away. Meanwhile, Agatha suddenly runs into Raffle inside the forest, and he looks very pleased. He quietly reveals that everything is going exactly according to his plan. Only now does Agatha realize something terrible. Raffle may have been behind all of this from the start. Back at school, Agatha immediately tells Professor Dovey that she saw Raffle in the forest and plans to warn Lady Lesso. At the same time, Sophie is locked inside her room as punishment for cheating during the trial. But instead of being alone, she gets another visit from Raffle. This time he gives her something much darker. He starts teaching Sophie how to control blood magic. Later, while teachers from both schools discuss the growing danger, Principal Ryan suddenly appears with bad news. Sophie has disappeared. Everyone quickly splits up to search for her. Meanwhile, Agatha goes to the big school dance hoping Sophie might show up there, and finally she finds her. But something feels very wrong. Sophie looks completely different, darker, stranger, almost like another person. The moment Lady Lesso sees her, she becomes terrified and demands to know what Raffle has done to her. Then Sophie drops a huge secret. She already knows Lady Lesso's past because Raffle told her everything. Lady Lesso was actually the missing girl from Gavalden 20 years ago. Her real name was Leonora. Long ago, Leonora was just a lonely girl who loved reading books and dreamed of escaping her boring life. Just like Sophie. Then one day, Raffle noticed something dark hidden deep inside her. something even Leonora herself never understood. So he took her to the school for evil and helped her unlock the darkness inside her powers. Back in the present, Professor Dovey suddenly arrives and quickly realizes something terrible. Sophie has made a dangerous deal with Raffle, and even worse, she is now learning blood magic. Meanwhile, at the school dance, Agatha keeps searching for Sophie when someone unexpected stops her. Tedros. This time things feel different. He sincerely thanks Agatha for saving his life during the forest trial. According to him, no one had ever stood beside him like that before. For the first time in his life, someone cared about him without expecting anything back. And suddenly Tedros says something shocking. He believes Agatha is his true love. Agatha is completely surprised. She clearly was not expecting this at all. But right now, romance is the last thing on her mind. She quickly tells Tedros that Sophie is in danger and Raffle is using her to destroy everything. Just then, Sophie finally arrives at the ball. And honestly, everyone is shocked. She looks completely different now, darker, colder, and way more powerful than before. But the biggest shock comes moments later. Sophie realizes Tedros is starting to care about Agatha, the same prince she worked so hard to win. Immediately, she feels betrayed. Her anger explodes. Filled with jealousy and heartbreak, Sophie threatens to destroy Agatha. The princes quickly pull out their swords to protect Agatha, but Sophie barely even reacts. With one wave of her power, she melts all their weapons like they are nothing. Before leaving, Sophie officially declares war against her own best friend. Not long after, the students discover something terrifying. Every teacher from both schools has been turned into dolls. Now there is nobody left to stop what is coming. Tedros immediately wants to fight back. But there is one huge problem in their world. Good cannot attack first. Good magic is only meant for defense. If good starts attacking, it slowly turns into evil. Knowing this, Agatha becomes desperate. She realizes that if this war begins, not only could she lose Sophie forever, but the entire school for good might disappear. Hoping to stop everything, Agatha heads to the school for evil's giant party. But instead of fear, she finds all the villains dancing, laughing, and waiting excitedly for battle. Soon the heroes storm the tower. The princes fire arrows at Sophie, but before the arrows can even touch her, they magically turn into flowers. And then something unbelievable happens. The balance between good and evil suddenly flips. Good becomes evil and evil becomes good. Just like that, everything changes. The witches suddenly find themselves wearing princess dresses, while the princes slowly begin transforming into darker versions of themselves. Even Tedros starts changing. As chaos spreads everywhere, a huge war breaks out. Sophie stands back and controls the entire battle like a queen, enjoying every second as good slowly loses. Meanwhile, Agatha keeps begging everyone to stop fighting, but nobody listens. In the middle of the chaos, Tedros gets badly attacked. Agatha rushes to help him, but before she can reach him, Sophie suddenly captures her. After locking Agatha away, Sophie heads toward the headmaster's tower, and there she learns the biggest secret of all. The man everyone believed was Principal Ryan was actually Raffle the entire time. Raffle finally reveals the truth. Long ago, he and his twin brother Ryan were given an important duty, protecting the magical stories of the world. Even though one represented good and the other represented evil, their bond kept them both young and immortal. As long as they protected each other, the balance stayed alive. But greed slowly changed Raffle. He wanted more power. Eventually, he started a war against his own brother. At first, everyone believed Ryan survived after pushing Raffle off the cliff. But that was not the truth. Raffle reveals something much darker. After the battle, when Ryan trusted him most, Raffle secretly stabbed his own brother in the back and killed him. Then, Raffle stole Ryan's identity and spent the next 200 years pretending to be the school's headmaster. Little by little, he secretly corrupted the balance between good and evil. He slowly made good become selfish, proud, and obsessed with beauty. Everything had been part of one giant plan, and Sophie was his final move. According to Raffle, everything he worked for had finally paid off. Now he wants Sophie to rule beside him forever. But first, he says they must seal their love with the kiss of true love. Confused and emotional, Sophie agrees. She kisses Raffle, but the moment it happens, something terrifying begins. The magical story itself starts writing the ending of her fate, and Sophie suddenly realizes the horrible truth. By kissing Raffle, she has doomed everyone. Buildings begin falling apart. The school for evil starts getting destroyed. Students and teachers begin suffering all around her. Immediately, Sophie regrets everything. She finally understands Raffle lied to her. She thought they were going to rule together, but Raffle never wanted to rule over anyone. He wanted to destroy everyone and rebuild the world from the beginning. Just when everything feels hopeless, someone suddenly appears. Agatha. The second Sophie sees her, relief washes over her face. Without thinking, Sophie runs forward and hugs her best friend tightly. But Raffle quickly steps in and coldly tells Agatha to stay away from his fiancée. Agatha refuses to back down. She looks straight at Raffle and makes one thing very clear. As long as she is alive, he will never take Sophie away from her. Hearing this, Raffle finally loses patience. He decides to end everything once and for all. Using the magical story pen, he sends a deadly attack straight toward Agatha, planning to kill the last student from the school for good. But before the attack can hit, Sophie suddenly jumps in front of Agatha. Without even thinking, she uses her own body as a shield. The attack hits Sophie directly in the heart, and just like that, everything changes. For the very first time, Sophie shows true love. Not romantic love, but real love for her best friend. The kind of love that asks for nothing in return. The moment Sophie sacrifices herself, the balance between good and evil is restored. The destroyed school slowly begins rebuilding itself, and Raffle watches in horror as his entire plan starts falling apart. Just then, Tedros suddenly storms into the tower. Quietly, he sneaks behind Raffle and prepares to attack, but Raffle notices him at the last second. Using his magic, he throws Tedros away and traps him so he cannot move. Seeing Tedros in danger, Agatha refuses to stand there and do nothing. With Sophie's help, she grabs the legendary sword Excalibur. Then, gathering all her courage, Agatha strikes Raffle straight in the chest. Within seconds, Raffle's body begins falling apart, and soon he turns into ashes. Finally, the evil that haunted the school for centuries is gone forever. But Agatha does not celebrate. She immediately rushes back to Sophie. Sophie is weak and barely able to speak. With tears in her eyes, Sophie quietly says something heartbreaking. She says she never wanted to become evil. But Agatha gently comforts her. She tells Sophie something beautiful. You are not evil, you are human. Every person has both good and bad inside them, but what matters most is the choice they make. And Sophie still has the power to choose who she wants to be. Before losing consciousness, Sophie softly tells Agatha that she loves her and promises she will always be her best friend. Then suddenly Sophie stops moving. Agatha breaks down crying and lays beside her best friend, heartbroken. But just when everything feels over, something unexpected happens. Agatha hears a heartbeat, Sophie's heartbeat. Slowly, Sophie opens her eyes again. She is alive. After everything they went through, the two friends had not only saved the school for good and evil, they had changed the fairy tale world forever. Because thanks to them, good and evil finally learned how to live together instead of fighting. The two schools are united at last. After saying goodbye, Sophie and Agatha decide it is finally time to return home to Gavalden. Before leaving, Agatha shares a goodbye kiss with Tedros. Even though saying goodbye hurts, both know they may meet again someday. When Sophie and Agatha finally return home, their families welcome them with open arms. And now, after everything they learned, the two girls are no longer scared of the people who once called them witches. In fact, they even use a little magic to get back at those who treated them badly at first. It feels like this is the perfect ending to their story, but then something strange happens. Tedros fires an arrow that somehow breaks through the barrier between worlds, and in that moment one thing becomes clear. This story is far from over. It is only the beginning. So what did you think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Movie 2 Clips for more best videos. See you in the next one.